The summer heat blazed down on the TechCorp Industries parking lot as Marcus Thompson stepped out of his old Honda Civic. At 22, he carried himself with quiet confidence, his engineering textbooks tucked under one arm and a worn toolbox in the other hand. This internship would help pay for his final year at MIT, where he studied mechanical engineering with a focus on industrial automation. Inside the sprawling factory, the noise of machinery filled the air. Workers in blue coveralls moved between towering metal structures, their faces glistening with sweat. Marcus approached the reception desk, where a middle-aged woman with kind eyes smiled at him. "You must be our new summer intern," she said warmly. "I'm Janet from HR, welcome to TechCorp." Before Marcus could respond, heavy footsteps echoed across the concrete floor. A tall man in an expensive suit strode toward them, his face twisted with irritation. Blake Wilson, the CEO, looked Marcus up and down with obvious disdain. "So you're the kid they sent us," Blake said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Hope you're ready to work, not like some of these college boys who think they know everything." Marcus extended his hand politely. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson. I'm Marcus Thompson. I'm excited to learn about your operations here." Blake ignored the handshake, turning to Janet instead. "Don't waste time with orientation. We've got that machine in Sector 7 acting up again. Put him on it." The other workers nearby stopped what they were doing, sensing the tension. They watched as Blake continued his dismissive tone. "Think you can handle some real work, college boy? Or are you going to run back to your books when things get tough?" Blake's words carried an unmistakable edge of prejudice. Marcus felt the familiar sting of discrimination, but years of similar encounters had taught him patience. He simply nodded. "I'll do my best, sir." "Your best better be good enough," Blake muttered, walking away without another glance. Blake Wilson gathered a small crowd of workers around him near the break area, his voice carrying across the factory floor. Marcus was kneeling beside the massive printing press in Sector 7, carefully examining its complex hydraulic system. "Hey everyone, come take a look at our new engineer," Blake announced with a smirk, making air quotes with his fingers. "Bet he's never seen real machinery before, just pictures in his fancy college books." Several employees shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. Tom Martinez, a veteran mechanic, frowned but kept his head down. Sarah Chen, one of the few other college interns, felt her stomach turn with disgust. Blake's voice grew louder, ensuring Marcus could hear every word. "I give him 2 hours before he gives up and asks for help. These people aren't cut out for technical work, if you know what I mean." The racist undertone wasn't lost on anyone present. A heavy silence fell over the group as workers exchanged worried glances. Some looked toward Marcus with sympathy, others stared at their feet in shame. Marcus heard every word but didn't look up from his work. His jaw tightened slightly, the only sign of his inner frustration. He continued his methodical inspection of the machine, running his fingers along the pneumatic lines and checking pressure gauges. "Let's see how long Mr. College Boy lasts," Blake continued with cruel satisfaction. Marcus took a deep breath, channeling his anger into focus. He would prove himself through action, not words. The machine's problem was becoming clearer with each passing minute, and he already had ideas for the solution. Marcus rolled up his sleeves and pulled out a small notebook from his pocket. The massive printing press stood silent, its chrome and steel surfaces reflecting the overhead lights. He began sketching the hydraulic system layout, noting pressure readings and valve positions with precise technical annotations. The machine had been down for 3 weeks. TechCorp's best technicians, including Tom Martinez with 15 years of experience, had tried everything. They'd replaced pumps, cleaned filters, and even called in specialists from the manufacturer. Nothing worked. Marcus crouched down and listened carefully to the subtle sounds coming from deep within the machinery. His trained ear caught something others had missed, a faint whistling noise that indicated a pressure leak in an unusual location. "The problem isn't in the main hydraulic line," he muttered to himself, tracing cables with his finger. "It's in the secondary pressure regulation system." Sarah Chen, who had been watching from a distance, moved closer. She was amazed to see Marcus using advanced diagnostic techniques she'd only read about in textbooks. He was calculating flow rates in his head and cross-referencing them with pressure differentials. Within an hour, Marcus had identified the root cause. A tiny sensor, buried deep in the machine's control panel, had malfunctioned. This sensor controlled the entire pressure cascade system, but it was so small and well hidden that previous technicians had overlooked it completely. Blake Wilson appeared again, his face red with frustration. "What's taking so long? I thought you college types were supposed to be smart." "Actually, Mr. Wilson," Marcus said calmly, holding up the faulty sensor, "I found the problem. This component failed and caused the entire hydraulic system to shut down as a safety measure." Blake's expression changed from mockery to suspicion. "You're telling me our experts missed something that obvious?" Marcus began installing the replacement part with practiced precision, his movements confident and sure. The factory's main entrance doors swung open with authority. A distinguished black man in his 50s walked through, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit and carrying himself with unmistakable presence. His silver-rimmed glasses caught the light as he scanned the factory floor with experienced eyes. Janet at the reception desk looked up, immediately recognizing the importance of this unexpected visitor. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you?" "I'm looking for Marcus Thompson," the man said with a warm but commanding voice. "I believe he's working here for the summer." Before Janet could respond, Blake Wilson rushed over, sensing an opportunity to impress what appeared to be a wealthy potential client. "I'm Blake Wilson, CEO of TechCorp Industries. Perhaps I can help you instead?" The visitor extended his hand with a slight smile. "Samuel Jefferson. I'm here to see how my son is doing on his first day." Blake's face went pale. The name Samuel Jefferson was legendary in the tech industry. Jefferson Technologies had revolutionized industrial automation over the past 2 decades. Every major manufacturing company in the country used his patented systems. "You're your son?" Blake stammered, his confident demeanor crumbling. At that moment, the printing press in Sector 7 roared back to life. The machine's rhythmic operation filled the factory with sounds of productivity that hadn't been heard in weeks. Workers gathered around, amazed to see the equipment running smoothly. Marcus emerged from behind the machinery, wiping his hands on a shop towel. His face lit up when he saw his father approaching. "Dad! What are you doing here?" Marcus called out, walking over with genuine surprise and joy. Samuel Jefferson's eyes twinkled with pride as he watched his son. "I wanted to see how you were settling in. Though it looks like you've already made quite an impression." Blake Wilson stood frozen, the color draining from his face as the full weight of his mistake became clear. Around them, workers began to whisper as they recognized the famous inventor. Tom Martinez shook his head in disbelief, realizing he'd just witnessed something extraordinary. "Mr. Jefferson," Blake began weakly, "I had no idea." Samuel Jefferson's expression grew serious as he observed the tension in the factory. Several workers had quietly approached him, their faces showing a mixture of respect and concern. Tom Martinez stepped forward first. "Mr. Jefferson, your son is incredibly talented. He fixed that machine in 2 hours when we couldn't solve it in 3 weeks, Tom said, glancing nervously at Blake. "But I think you should know how he was treated today." Sarah Chen nodded in agreement. "Mr. Wilson made some very inappropriate comments, sir." Marcus handled it with more grace than anyone should have to. Samuel's jaw tightened as he listened to the accounts. His eyes never left Blake's face, watching the CEO squirm under his steady gaze. "Mr. Wilson," Samuel said, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority, "I came here today for 2 reasons. First, to check on my son. Second, to finalize a partnership agreement worth $50 million. Blake's eyes widened with desperate hope. "Mr. Jefferson, please, let me explain." "Let me finish," Samuel interrupted firmly. "I've spent months evaluating TechCorp as a potential partner for our new automated manufacturing systems. Your company seemed promising on paper. The factory had grown completely silent. Every worker within earshot had stopped to listen. However, Samuel continued, a company's true character isn't shown in boardroom presentations. It's revealed in how leadership treats every employee, especially those they perceive as powerless. Blake's face turned ashen. Sir, there's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Samuel replied, his voice cutting through Blake's excuses. You judged my son by his skin color rather than his abilities. You publicly humiliated him and made racist assumptions about his capabilities. Samuel pulled out his phone and made a quick call. Cancel all negotiations with TechCorp Industries. Effective immediately. Blake Wilson's empire began crumbling with those simple words, while Marcus stood tall beside his father. Justice finally served.